Hey everybody, we are going to balayage on furniture today. I totally forgot to record my intro, so we're just going to jump into it. We're going to be creating some appliques from Redesign with Prima Mould, and we're going to be using some Daydream Apothecary paint. The first thing I did on this piece is obviously prepped it. I cleaned it really well, and I am using a darker color for my base, so I don't need a blocking primer for tannins, and I'm not going to be using any lighter colors anyways. The panels right there that are white, I was just doing some experimenting right there. So I did 2 coats of Poison Ivy, which is one of the newer colors in the Cozy Home line with Daydream Apothecary. It is a really kind of pretty dusty burgundy. So I did 2 full coats of that first, and then I let it completely dry. For the next step, I'm going to be creating some appliques with this Decor mold with Redesign with Prima, and I'm going to use amazing fast casting resin. It's a 2-part resin, and it's going to settle in about 10 to 15 minutes. So what you're going to do is you're going to pour equal parts of part A and part B, and then you're going to stir it up, and it's going to get cloudy at first, and you want to just continue to stir it until it gets clear again. And then you're going to pour it into your mold, and I use that little tongue depressor mixing spoon or mixing stick to kind of guide the resin to go into the cracks and crevices that it doesn't quite reach after I pour it in there, and then I let it sit. This one turns white when it is fully done, dried, cured, ready to be pulled out. Now I do want to say that you could have done this before you did the 2 coats of paint and applied these appliques to the furniture, then did the 2 coats, but I wanted to see what the piece looked like with the paint on it so I could visualize exactly what I wanted. So I did it after, not a big deal. I'm going to show you guys how after these are cured, I'm going to show you how I apply them to the piece of furniture. Once my applique is ready to be pulled from the mold, I am going to so I like to use Titebond Quick and Thick, which is a multi-surface glue. Because these molds are resin and what I'm going to stick it to is wood, I like to use that multi-surface glue. And then I'm going to measure. So what I'm doing right here is I had already applied one on the other side, and I am measuring to make sure that it is in the same place as the other one so that it is equal and it doesn't look wonky on this piece of furniture. So the first thing I'm doing is measuring it and getting it exactly where the other one is. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put down pieces of tape to mark where it needs to go back, because I'm going to pull this off and I'm going to put the Titebond Quick and Thick all over the back of it with this little mini paintbrush. And then I'm going to put it on the piece, and then I'll tape it down, and once it's dry it will be applied to the piece and ready to be painted. These are now applied to the piece and ready to be painted, but I wanted to show you the key that goes to the piece and why I picked those molds, because it really reminds me of the key. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 coats of Poison Ivy on these appliques, and when there's an applique that is a little bit more ornate, I put a little bit more paint on my paintbrush, and then I go in circles. You can see I'm going in circles, so that way I can really cover and get in all the cracks and crevices. Once I have 2 full coats of Poison Ivy on my piece, on the appliques, we're going to go in with 2 different colors. We're going to use Scuba Girl, which is the color I'm using right now, and that is a purple. And then we're going to use Comfort Zone, which is a warm white. What we're trying to do is we are trying to When you do balayage, it's a natural progression, right? It's a natural kind of blend. It goes from dark to light, but it's not super in your face intense. And so what I'm trying to do here, and I know this looks crazy, is I'm trying to lighten that poison ivy a little bit right there in the center, because I want the top to be the poison ivy color, and then we're gonna go down into a lighter version of that poison ivy into another coral color that we're going to use, and this is going to be gradual. So I've applied the Scuba Girl and I've applied Comfort Zone in just random areas, and now I am spraying it with water and I am going in and just blending them together. This is just a rough blend right now. We just want to get them together so that we can create a lighter color right there. And so I'm using a brush for each color, and now I'm taking my blending brush, which I know you guys are going to ask for it, but it is being manufactured right now, so I will share it with you guys as soon as I can. But now we have a little bit lighter of a color, and I'm going to go over that with a kind of a dry brush of poison ivy. So it's now lighter, but it's still the poison ivy color. It's not so much that Scuba Girl purple. We're going to move to the bottom of the panel, and I'm just going to spray my Scuba Girl brush and apply, almost in a dry brush fashion, some Scuba Girl in different areas, because we want to lighten this as well. But we will end up going over this area with the blushing coral color, and I'll show you that in a second. But I'm misting the Comfort Zone brush, adding a little bit of Comfort Zone right there, and then I'm going to mist my Poison Ivy brush, and we're going to get that to blend just like the area we did right above it. But this paint is a clay and chalk paint, so it blends beautifully. It's going to reactivate with water when you're spraying it, and so don't be afraid to just add a little bit, will go a long way. Now we're going to work on the bottom, and the color is Blushing Coral. I am going to take Blushing Coral and I am going to apply it to the bottom of the piece, because if you can see over to the right, we want this to be very subtle. And so I'm misting while I am applying this so that I can just do it. It doesn't look quite like a wash because we're putting it on just a little bit thicker than a wash, but I am using water to move it around so that way it's not quite a solid look. Because what we want is, if you can see down there at the bottom, you can still see that poison ivy through the paint. And that is a look that we like as well. And so that is kind of what we're going for, is just putting this on here, not using a ton of paint, and just pushing it into different areas. Now, if you wanted it to be more solid with the Blushing Coral, you could, but I wanted it to be super subtle. So right now what I'm doing is I am just taking my Blushing Coral brush and I am trying to blend it up into that middle color that we had, and you can see I'm just lightly doing that, misting it with water, just lightly pulling it up, and I'm pulling the paint across so that we can spread it. Now what I'm going to do is take my Poison Ivy brush and I'm going to lightly go over it so that way we can start that subtle blend. So you can see I'm going down into it, and so we still have that Poison Ivy color in the center, but we have the Blushing Coral at the bottom. And so that is what I'm going to do, is toggle between that so that we get a nice subtle blend. I do want my Blushing Coral to be just a little bit more intense, so we are going to take a little bit more and add that to the bottom so that way we can intensify that color. So that's what I'm doing right now, is adding a little bit more Blushing Coral on the bottom. Once my paint is completely dry, I am going to use Daydream Apothecary's Dream Coat to seal this paint. Because this is a clay and chalk based paint, it is not an all-in-one paint. You do need to seal it. Once you seal it, it kind of richens the colors a little bit, and of course it's going to protect everything. This sealer is UV resistant and it is also water resistant. So it's quickly become one of my favorite top coats, and I'm going to go ahead and just brush it on this entire piece. I needed to add just a little bit to those appliques, so I am going to take the Alchemy Rose Gold Gilding Wax, and this is an oil-based wax, so that is why I waited until after I put my water-based top coat on. This will self-seal, but I'm doing it afterwards because oil and water do not mix, so you do not want to put this on and then top coat with a water-based top coat. I'm just lightly putting it on these areas just to tie everything all into. Okay everybody, this piece is done. This video is done. I'm gonna move a little bit this way. I had a suggestion to allow you guys to see this piece a little bit more and not sit in front of it. So thank you for that. I hope you guys enjoyed this piece. I am going to do hopefully a slower video pan over of it so that you guys can see it a little bit better, and there will be staged pictures after. You guys can grab everything that I used in the description below. So go down there, click on it, get all the things, create this balayage on furniture. Who would have thought? All right guys, have an amazing day. Happy creating, and I'll see you later. Bye.
Hey darling, can I tell you what's been on my mind? Sick and tired of the 9 to 5 in the city life. Darling, we could get out of town, see the beautiful world around, wanna see it now. Pack our bags and get in that car, leave a little note and we'll drive real far. Let's get out, we can leave this city, let's drive to the open. Yeah, the countryside is so pretty with the wind blowing in